Hi, this is Mike Elliott, and you're watching a CEO Live executive interview. In this episode, we'll be talking to Mr. Matthew Lehman. He's the CEO of Prima Biomed, a globally active leader in the development of personalized immunocellular therapeutic products for the treatment of cancer. Prima Biomed is an Australian-listed biotech company which is cross-listed on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol PBMD. Good afternoon, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
To start off, could you give us some brief background on Prima Biomed and the market opportunity it's currently most focused on?
Sure, Mike. So as you mentioned, Prima Biomed, we're focused in the development of personalized immunocellular therapeutics, where we're trying to develop this product for the treatment of cancer. By way of background, so we are an Australian company. The company was formed in Australia. It was spun out of a research institute in Melbourne called the Burnet Institute, a very well-respected immunology research institute in Australia. And most of our investors to date have been, and the backers of the company have been in Australia. More recently, in the last year, we've made a bigger focus on the U.S. as our product is now making its way through clinical trials later into development. We've been doing more clinical trials here in the U.S. We listed on NASDAQ this American Depository Receipt Program, as you mentioned, about a year ago. And, again, a little bigger focus here in the U.S. as we move forward. So what we're trying more specifically with the product called CVAC, this is a product we make based on taking a patient's own white blood cells. We bring that into one of our manufacturing facilities. We have 3 of those around the world, in California, the original group in Melbourne, Australia, as well as in Leipzig, Germany. So we bring a patient's white blood cells in for manufacturing. We're making a product called CVAC, and the idea is when that's re-administered to the patient, the idea is it would stimulate an immune response and be able to help stimulate your T cells or killer white blood cells to kill cancer cells and maintain a longer control of your cancer. Our most advanced program with CVAC is for the treatment or potential treatment of ovarian cancer. So we've finished 2 earlier trials with that product. We're now reporting our phase 2 trial. That was a 63-patient trial, and that reporting will come on October 1st of this year, so just a month and a half or 2 months from now. We are also ongoing with a phase 2/3 trial, a much larger confirmatory type or pivotal type trial of CVAC for ovarian cancer, an 800-patient multinational trial, and we've been kind of rolling that out during the course of this year, and that will be continuing. And then more recently, we've also taken this product and we'll be looking at some exploratory trials, earlier phase 2 type of trials for pancreatic cancer, for colorectal cancer, as well as for triple-negative breast cancer. So, and we'll look to have those started towards the end of 2013 or maybe early 14. We're just undergoing, sort of finalizing those protocols and making regulatory submissions for that. So we're pretty excited we have obviously a number of things going on with CVAC.
And we may have covered some of this already, but could you give us a quick rundown of the highlights you recently announced during your 4th quarter conference call?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you mentioned, our 4th quarter. So our financial year ends June 30th. This was yesterday. We had our quarterly earnings call. And we went through, in the last quarter, we did actually raise, in total, it ended up being about $9 million through what is called a share purchase plan. It's sort of like a rights offering, if you will, in Australia to our current shareholders, kind of help bolster the balance sheet a little bit. So we had over 2,000 shareholders in Australia, help to really, continue our development plans. We, of course, announced that our phase 2 trial in ovarian cancer, the so-called CAN003 protocol, that has been accepted for presentation at the European Cancer Congress, and this is really the 2nd largest cancer congress in the world every year. The biggest one is ASCO, the American Society of Clinical Oncology, that was held a few months ago, and then the one in Europe in the fall. So it's a very nice high-profile platform for us to present those trial results. So Dr. Jeffrey Goh, who's one of the lead investigators on that protocol, he will be presenting our top-line results at that conference October 1st. We also announced we added a number of new countries and new sites, clinical trial sites or hospital sites on our phase 2/3 trial, the so-called CANVAS trial. As I mentioned earlier, that's a large 800-patient ovarian cancer trial, so we've been continuing to progress that program as well. Of course, we did announce the new trials in the triple-negative breast, pancreatic, and colorectal cancer, so we announced that in the last quarter. We finished a financial year with a bit more than $30 million in cash. Again, for a development stage company, we're reasonably comfortable with the cash balance we have and what we're undertaking and investing that money wisely. So, that's been some of the most exciting things in the last few months.
That's a lot of major developments now. Aside from your main product, CVAC, what other products would you say are furthest along in the clinical trial phase and maybe your next up and coming commercially approved drug?
Yeah, sure. So, the most advanced program is for CVAC and ovarian cancer. As I mentioned, we're now just starting to look at CVAC, and again, using with different cancer, different patients with different cancer types. So that's ongoing. That's really the focus of what we're doing as a company, is developing CVAC. Alongside with CVAC, I think it's important to note is let's say the underlying technology or manufacturing platform and the investments and advancements we're making in that sphere. If you could imagine this, on a global basis, being able to collect white blood cells from patients, harvest those cells, bring them in for manufacturing, making the same product or a comparable product consistently among hundreds of patients in multiple countries and 3 manufacturing facilities, and then distributing that back to patients in hundreds of hospitals around the world. That's a pretty big undertaking. So we've invested a lot in the logistics control, the quality control, testing, our ability to transfer this technology to one facility to the next. So I think that's been a very important focus of our development. I believe that's something that's really important for, if CVAC is successful in its clinical trial, being able to bring a cost-effective, commercially viable, well-produced, consistently produced product to the market. So that's also, in addition to the clinical trial part, that investment in our manufacturing platform has been very important for us as well. And I think will be, over the longer term, is probably a significant value driver for this company.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Now, that's all the questions we had time for today, but were there any comments you wanted to add before we close?
No, like I said, I think it's pretty exciting for us. Like I said, here in the next 5 or 6 weeks, 7 weeks, we'll have our phase 2 data, and we'll be reporting that. And look forward to moving things forward. So.
We definitely like to follow this story and would like to talk to you again once some of that data comes in and revisit it and see where you guys are at maybe in a couple months.
Yeah, that would be great. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks again for taking the time to join us.
Thanks.
We've been talking to Mr. Matthew Lehman. He's the CEO of Prima Biomed, a globally active leader in the development of personalized immunocellular therapeutic products for the treatment of cancer. Prima Biomed is an Australian-listed biotech company which is cross-listed on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol PBMD, and you can find out more about them by visiting their website at www.primabiomed.com.au. Thank you.